Dr. Amanda Brooks wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stared at the glowing screen in front of her. The symbols on the display looked strange and alien, but she knew what they meant. After 3 months of careful work, she had finally cracked the code of the Valfique language. The dead alien race had left behind these carved messages on their homeworld, and now she could read their final words. The research ship Horizon floated quietly in space above the planet. Kepler 442b. This world had once been home to millions of alien beings called the Valfique. Now it was just a ball of rock and dust. The cities were empty. The people were gone. Only their stone monuments remained, covered in writing that no human had ever understood before today. Dot Amanda read the translated text again, her hands shaking slightly. The message was short, but terrifying. She had seen similar warnings before, but this one was clearer than the others. The Valfique had written their final message in huge letters across the walls of their capital city, as if they wanted to make sure someone would find it. The blue world's children guard something far, worse than themselves, Amanda read aloud in the empty lab. We tried to contain it. We failed. Do not wake what sleeps beneath their oceans. The blue world. That could only mean Earth. But what did they mean by Earth's children guarding something worse than humans? Amanda had always thought humans were pretty dangerous. They had wars, they destroyed their environment, and they could be cruel to each other. What could possibly be worse than that? She saved her work and walked quickly through the ship's narrow hallways. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor as she headed to the bridge. Captain Robert Hayes needed to see this immediately. The captain was a tough man in his 50s with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. He had been in space for most of his adult life, and very few things surprised him anymore. Dot Amanda found him studying star charts at his command station. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers and the occasional beep from the navigation system. A few other crew members worked at their stations, checking instruments and monitoring the ship's systems. Captain Hayes, Amanda said, trying to keep her voice steady. I need to show you something important. The captain looked up from his charts. He could see the worry in Amanda's eyes, and that got his attention right away. Dr. Brooks was one of the smartest people he knew, and she did not scare easily. What is it, Doctor? He asked, turning away from his work. Amanda activated a portable display and showed him the translated message. Captain Hayes read it slowly, his expression growing more serious with each word. When he finished, he was quiet for a long moment. This is the 18th dead civilization we have found, he said. Finally. And they all left the same basic message about Earth. Yes, sir, Amanda replied. But this translation is much clearer than the others. The Valfique were very specific about what they were warning us about. They said something sleeps beneath our oceans, and that humans are supposed to guard it. Lieutenant Jake Morrison approached them from the communications station. He was a young man with short brown hair and a serious face. He had been monitoring radio signals from other human ships in the area. Captain, Jake said, we are getting priority messages from Earth Command. They want all research teams to return to Earth immediately. Captain Hayes frowned. Did they say why? No, sir, but the message was marked as urgent. They want every xenarchaeology team back home as soon as possible. Amanda felt a cold feeling in her stomach. Captain, how many other teams are out here looking at dead alien worlds? At least 12 other ships, Hayes replied. Maybe more. If Earth Command is calling everyone back, they must have found something important. Jake checked his communication. Logs. Sir, I am also getting reports from 3 other research teams. They found similar warnings on different planets. The teams on Proxima Centauri b, Wolf 359, and Gliese 581 grams all discovered the same type of message. Amanda sat down heavily in a nearby chair. That makes 21 bed civilizations, all warning us about the same thing. Captain, what if these alien races did not just die out naturally? What if something killed them because they tried to interfere with whatever is on Earth? The captain was quiet for a moment, thinking about what she had said. He had seen a lot of strange things in space, but this was different. 21 separate alien species, spread across hundreds of light years, all leaving the same warning about humanity's home planet. That was not a coincidence. Dr. Brooks, he said slowly, how long ago did the Valthic civilization end? Amanda checked her notes. Based on radioactive dating of their artifacts, about 50,000 years ago, the same as all the others. They all went extinct at roughly the same time in galactic history. 50,000 years ago, the captain repeated. That was right around the time humans were learning to farm and build permanent settlements on Earth. Yes, sir. It is almost like something happened to cause all these alien civilizations to die out, just as humanity was beginning to develop. Jake looked up from his station again. Captain, I am getting more reports. Teams near Tau Ceti and 61 Cygni have found similar ruins with the same warnings. The pattern is spreading. Every dead civilization in our local area of the galaxy left messages. About Earth. Amanda stood up and walked to the main view screen, which showed the dead planet below them. The world looked peaceful from space, but she knew that down on the surface were the ruins of a once great civilization. The Valthic had built beautiful cities and created amazing art. They had reached for the stars, just like humans were doing. Now, but something had destroyed them all. Captain, she said without turning around, what if humans are not really from Earth? What if we were put there for a specific purpose? What do you mean? Hayes asked. Think about it. Humans are different from most other species we know about. We are more aggressive, more violent, more willing to fight. Most intelligent species seem to be more peaceful. What if humans were designed to be warriors? What if we were placed on Earth to guard something that other species could not handle? The captain considered this idea. It sounded crazy, but so did finding identical warnings from 21 different alien races. You think humans were created to be guards? Not created, Amanda said, turning back to face him, but maybe guided. Maybe our evolution was influenced to make us into the perfect guardians for whatever is hidden on Earth. Jake interrupted their conversation. Captain, we are getting another priority message from Earth Command. They want us to stop all research immediately and return home. They are sending the same message to every human ship in space. Captain Hayes made his decision. Plot a course for Earth, Lieutenant. Maximum speed. Yes, sir, Jake replied, his fingers dancing over the navigation controls dot as the horizon turned away from the dead planet and accelerated toward Earth. Amanda continued to study the alien warning. The more she thought about it, the more frightened she became. 21 advanced civilizations had all tried to warn future species about something on Earth. They had all failed to contain whatever it was, and they had all died as a result. What could be so dangerous that it required an entire species to guard it? And what would happen if humanity ever failed in that duty? Amanda had a terrible feeling that they were about to find out. The ship flew through space toward Earth, carrying its crew and the terrifying knowledge that their home planet was hiding. Something that had already destroyed dozens of alien civilizations. Whatever slept beneath Earth's oceans had been waiting for a very long time. And if the warnings were true, it was far worse than humanity itself. 3 days later, Dr. Amanda Brooks stood in the largest underground meeting room she had ever seen. The Global Defense Initiative complex was buried deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, and its main conference hall could hold over 200 people. Today, it was packed with the most important humans on Earth. Director Paul Martinez walked to the front of the room. He was a tall man with dark hair and serious eyes. For the past 10 years, he had been in charge of Earth's defenses against threats from space. But he had never dealt with anything like this before. "Ladies and gentlemen," Director Martinez said, his voice echoing through the room, "we have a problem that is bigger than anything we have ever faced. Dr. Lisa Wong will explain what we have learned." Dr. Wong stepped up to the speaking platform. She was a small woman with short black hair and thick glasses. She had spent her entire career studying ancient languages from around the world. Now she was trying to understand languages from dead alien worlds. "We have now confirmed warnings from 43 different alien civilizations," Dr. Wong began. "These species lived on planets spread across hundreds of light years of space. They never met each other. They evolved completely separately. But they all left the same message about Earth." She pressed a button on her control device, and a huge holographic display appeared above the crowd. It showed a map of the local galaxy, with red dots marking the locations of dead alien worlds. There were dozens of them, forming a rough circle around Earth's solar system. "The translations are remarkably similar," Dr. Wong continued. "Despite being written in completely different languages by species that had nothing in common, they all warn about the same thing. Something dangerous is imprisoned beneath Earth's oceans, and humans were placed here to guard it." General Frank Cooper raised his hand. He was the head of Earth's Space Defense Forces, a big man with gray hair and a booming voice. "Dr. Wong, what exactly are these aliens warning us about? What could be worse than humans?" Dr. Wong looked uncomfortable as she answered. "The alien texts use different names for it, but they all describe the same thing. They call it the Devourer, the Endless Hunger, or the Consumer of Worlds. According to their records, this entity does not just destroy planets or kill living things. It erases them from existence completely." The room became very quiet. Amanda could hear people shifting in their chairs and breathing heavily. The idea of something that could make entire worlds simply stop existing was terrifying. President Helen Carter spoke from a large screen at the front of the room. She was attending the meeting through a secure video link from Washington. "Dr. Wong, are you telling us that humans did not evolve naturally on Earth?" "Not exactly, Madam President," replied Dr. Kevin Stone, who stood up from his seat in the third row. He was a marine biologist who studied life in the deep ocean. "We did evolve on Earth, but the alien records suggest that our evolution was guided. We were shaped to become the perfect guardians for whatever is trapped beneath our seas." "Doctor." Stone walked to the front and activated another holographic display. This one showed images of the deepest parts of Earth's oceans, taken by underwater robots and submarines. "For the past 6 months, my team has been studying unusual activity in the Pacific Ocean, Doctor," Stone explained. "We have found massive structures beneath the ocean floor that cannot be natural. They are clearly artificial, built by some advanced technology that we do not understand." The hologram showed sonar readings from the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's oceans. Instead of the smooth seafloor that scientists expected to find, the images revealed enormous geometric shapes buried in the mud and rock. "These structures are huge," Dr. Stone continued. "Some of them are larger than entire cities. They form patterns that extend for hundreds of miles beneath the Pacific Basin. And recently, they have started to show signs of activity." Colonel Beth Ryan stood up from her seat near the back of the room. She was in charge of the military's Deep Sea Research Division, and her face looked grim. "Dr. Stone is being polite about the situation. The truth is that these structures are not just showing activity. They are waking up." She walked to the control panel and changed the holographic display to show recent seismic readings from monitoring stations around the Pacific Ocean. The data showed a pattern of small earthquakes and vibrations that had been growing stronger over the past few weeks. "Something down there is moving," Colonel Ryan said. The seismic activity follows the same geometric patterns as the buried structures. Whatever built those things is still alive, and it is starting to wake up. Amanda felt her heart beating faster. She raised her hand and stood up. Colonel Ryan, could this be connected to our discovery of the alien warnings? We found similar timing in the archaeological record. All the alien civilizations died out about 50,000 years ago, right when humans were beginning to develop civilization. That is exactly what we think happened, Director Martinez replied. The entity beneath our oceans has been sleeping for thousands of years, but something is causing it to wake up now. We believe that the development of human technology and space travel may be disturbing its rest. Dr. Wong added more frightening details. According to the alien records, this entity feeds on reality itself. When it is fully awake and active, it can make entire star systems simply cease to exist. The civilizations that left the warnings tried to fight it or contain it themselves. They all failed. President Carter leaned forward on the video screen. What happened to these civilizations? How did they die? They were erased, Dr. Wong said quietly. Not destroyed, not killed, erased, as if they had never existed at all. The only reason we can find their warnings is that they carved them into the most durable materials they could find, hoping that someone would discover them after the entity consumed everything else. The room was silent again. The idea that entire civilizations could be wiped from existence was hard to understand. It was like being told that someone could reach into history and delete whole chapters of the story of life in the galaxy. Dr. Stone spoke up again. There is something else. The alien records mention that humans have a special role as guardians. Our brain patterns, our emotions, our way of thinking, it all creates a kind of frequency that helps keep the entity asleep. But only when we work together. What do you mean? Asked General Cooper. The alien texts suggest that human unity and cooperation strengthen the prison that holds the entity. But human conflict and hatred weaken it. Wars, violence, division between nations and peoples. All of these things disrupt the frequency that keeps the creature contained. Amanda understood what he was saying, and it filled her with dread. You mean that every time humans fight each other, we make it easier for this thing to escape? That appears to be correct, Dr. Stone replied. The entity has been waiting for humanity to weaken itself through conflict. It has been patient, sleeping beneath the oceans while we develop technology and spread across the planet. But our wars and hatred have been slowly weakening the bonds that hold it prisoner. Colonel Ryan activated another display, this one showing recent military conflicts around the world. If Dr. Stone is right, then every war we fight, every act of terrorism, every moment of hatred between different groups of people brings us closer to releasing something that could destroy not just Earth, but the entire universe. Director Martinez looked around the room at the frightened faces of Earth's leaders. We have confirmed that deep ocean monitoring stations are detecting increasing activity from the buried structures. Whatever is down there is getting stronger. Our scientists estimate that we may have only weeks or months before it becomes fully active. President Carter asked the question that everyone was thinking. What can we do to stop it? Dr. Wong looked at her notes before answering. The alien records mention something called a fail-safe protocol. If the prison ever failed completely, there was supposedly one final way to contain the entity. But the descriptions are unclear, and the cost appears to be enormous. What kind of cost? The president asked. The texts suggest that it would require the cooperation of every human being on Earth. All of humanity working together with perfect unity for a single purpose. But the alien records also suggest that such an effort would not be survivable. The room erupted in worried conversations as people tried to understand what Dr. Wong had just told them. The choice seemed impossible. Let a cosmic horror escape and destroy everything, or sacrifice all of humanity to keep it contained. Director Martinez called for quiet. We need more information before we make any decisions. Colonel Ryan, I want every deep ocean monitoring station activated immediately. Dr. Stone, continue your research into the underwater structures. Dr. Wong, keep working on translating more alien records. We need to understand exactly what we are facing. As the meeting ended and people began to leave, Amanda remained in her seat, staring at the holographic displays. Somewhere beneath thousands of feet of ocean water, something ancient and terrible was stirring. And humanity, the species that thought it was the master of Earth, was about to discover that they had always been nothing more than prison guards. 3 weeks after the emergency meeting in Colorado, the world began to change in ways that frightened everyone who noticed. Captain Sam Turner stood on the deck of his research vessel, Neptune's Eye, watching the Pacific Ocean with growing concern. The water looked different today. Instead of the normal blue-green color, patches of the sea had turned a dark purple that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Sam was a veteran of 20 years at sea, and he had never seen anything like this before. His ship was the most advanced deep-sea exploration vessel ever built, equipped with technology that could take humans deeper into the ocean than anyone had ever gone before. Today, he and his crew were heading to the deepest part of the Pacific to investigate the strange. Readings that scientists had been detecting. Dr. Kate Phillips joined him on the deck, carrying a tablet computer filled with data from their instruments. She was a marine biologist who specialized in studying life in the extreme depths of the ocean. Her short blonde hair blew in the sea breeze as she showed Sam the latest readings. Captain, the water temperature has dropped 5 degrees in the past hour, she said, pointing to the numbers on her screen. That should not be possible. The ocean does not change temperature that quickly over such a large area. Sam nodded, looking out at the strange purple patches on the water. What about the marine life? Are you seeing any changes in the fish and whales? Kate's expression grew more worried. That is the really strange part. 3 days ago, we started getting reports from fishing boats about unusual behavior. Whales and dolphins are swimming in perfect geometric patterns before beaching themselves on shores around the Pacific. It is like they are being controlled by something. Tony Rodriguez emerged from the ship's engine room, wiping grease from his hands with a dirty cloth. He was the ship's chief engineer, a stocky man with dark hair and calloused hands who could fix anything mechanical. But today, he looked confused and concerned. Captain, Tony said, I am getting some really weird readings from our instruments. The electromagnetic sensors are picking up structured signals from deep underwater. It is not random noise. There is definitely a pattern to it. Amy Johnson, the ship's communications specialist, appeared at the top of the stairs leading down to the radio room. She was a young woman with red hair and sharp green eyes who could make sense of any kind of signal or transmission. But the expression on her face suggested that she had found something she could not understand. Captain Turner, Amy called out, you need to hear this. I have been monitoring the underwater signals that Tony mentioned, and I think I have figured out what they are. Sam followed Amy down to the communications room, with Kate and Tony close behind. The small space was filled with electronic equipment that beeped and hummed constantly. Amy sat down at her main console and put on a pair of headphones. Listen to this, she said, adjusting some dials on her equipment. I have been running the underwater signals through our computer analysis programs. The pattern is not random. It is structured communication, like a language. She played the processed signal through the room's speakers. What they heard was unlike anything they had ever experienced. It was not exactly sound, but something that seemed to vibrate through their bones and make their teeth ache. The pattern was complex and clearly artificial, but it felt ancient and alien. How long has this signal been transmitting? Sam asked. That is the really strange part, Amy replied. Based on the echo patterns and signal degradation, I think. This transmission has been repeating for thousands of years. Maybe tens of thousands of years. But Captain, in the past few days, it has started to change. Kate sat down heavily in a nearby chair. Change how? It is not just repeating anymore. The signal is adapting, responding to our presence. Whatever is sending this message knows that we are here, and it is trying to communicate with us. Sam felt a cold chill run down his spine, despite the warm air in the communications room. Amy, can you tell where the signal is coming from? Amy checked her instruments and pointed to a display showing the depth and location of the signal source. It is coming from directly beneath us, Captain. About 35,000 feet down, near the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Tony whistled softly. That is deeper than any human has ever gone before. The pressure down there would crush a normal submarine like a tin can. Good thing we are not in a normal submarine, Sam replied. The Neptune's Eye had been designed specifically for extreme deep-sea exploration. Its hull was made from the strongest materials that human technology could produce, and its life support systems could keep the crew alive at depths that would kill anyone else. Kate stood up and walked to the navigation controls. Captain, we need to go down there. Whatever is sending that signal is connected to the strange things happening in the ocean. The purple water, the geometric whale patterns, the temperature changes. It all started when this signal began to change. Sam made his decision quickly. All right, people. We are going to the bottom of the ocean to see what is waiting for us down there. Tony, I want you to double-check all of our systems. Amy, keep monitoring that signal and let me know if it changes. Again, Kate, prepare your instruments to record everything we see. The crew spent the next 2 hours preparing for their descent into the deepest part of the ocean. Sam had made similar dives before, but never with such a sense of dread. The reports from around the world were getting worse every day. Ships were reporting equipment failures when they got near certain coordinates in the ocean. Coastal cities were experiencing unexplained power outages. And the sea itself seemed to be watching them with invisible eyes. As the Neptune's Eye began its descent, Tony monitored the ship's systems carefully. Depth, 5,000 feet and descending, he reported. Hull integrity is good, but I am reading some strange electromagnetic interference. Kate watched her instruments as they sank deeper into the ocean. The water composition is changing as we go deeper. I am detecting chemical elements that should not exist at these depths. Some of them are not even on our periodic table. Amy kept her headphones on, listening to the alien signal as it grew stronger. Captain, the signal is getting much more complex. It is like it knows we are coming closer. And there is something else. I think I am hearing other signals now. Fainter ones, coming from different directions. At 20,000 feet, their lights began to reveal strange things in the water around them. Instead of the normal deep-sea creatures they expected to see, the ocean was filled with geometric shapes that glowed with their own inner light. The shapes moved in patterns that hurt to look at directly, as if they existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. What are those things? Tony asked, staring at the display screens that showed the area around their submarine. Kate checked her instruments, but they were not designed to analyze anything like what they were seeing. I do not know. They are not biological, at least not in any way that we understand, but they are definitely alive. At 30,000 feet, the signal became so strong that Amy had to remove her headphones to avoid damage to her hearing. Captain, whatever is sending this signal is very close now. And it is not just one source anymore. There are dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Finally, at 35,000 feet, their lights illuminated something that made all 4 crew members stare in shocked silence. Stretching away into the darkness were enormous structures that clearly had not been built by any natural process. The architecture was wrong in ways that made their eyes water, and their minds struggled to understand what they were seeing. The structures were made from materials that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They were covered in geometric patterns that moved and shifted like living things. And they were huge, so large that their lights could not reveal the edges or boundaries of the construction. "Jesus," Tony whispered. "How big is this thing?" Kate checked her sonar readings twice before she trusted them enough to speak. "Based on our instruments, the structure extends beyond our sensor range. It could be the size of a small continent." As they watched in fascination and terror, sections of the ancient construction began to pulse with a soft, sickly light. The alien signal that Amy had been monitoring became so loud that they could hear it through the hull of their submarine without any electronic equipment. "Captain," Amy said, her voice shaking with fear, "the signal just changed again. It is not just responding to us anymore. It is calling to something. Something big." Sam felt sweat forming on his forehead despite the submarine's air conditioning. "Take us up, now." But as Tony began the process of ascending to the surface, alarms started ringing throughout the submarine. Their instruments showed that something massive was moving in the darkness below them. Something that had been sleeping for thousands of years was finally beginning to wake up. The Neptune's eye rose toward the surface as quickly as its systems would allow, carrying its terrified crew and the knowledge that humanity's ancient enemy was stirring in the depths of the ocean. Whatever they had awakened down there was far older and more dangerous than anything humans had ever imagined. Behind them, in the crushing darkness of the deep ocean, geometric lights pulsed in patterns that had not been seen for 50,000 years. When the Neptune's eye finally reached the surface, Captain Sam Turner and his crew found a world that had changed dramatically in the 3 days they had been in the deep ocean. The sky above the Pacific had turned a strange orange color, and the clouds moved in spiral patterns that made no sense according to any weather system Sam had ever seen. Amy Johnson immediately tried to contact the mainland using their radio equipment, but the signals were filled with static and strange voices, speaking in languages that did not sound human. When she finally managed to reach the Global Defense Initiative headquarters in Colorado, the news she received was terrifying. "Captain Turner, this is Director Martinez," came the voice through the crackling radio. "We have been trying to reach you for 2 days. The situation has become critical." Sam grabbed the radio microphone with shaking hands. "Director, we found the source of the signals. There are massive structures beneath the Mariana Trench, and something down there is waking up." "We know, Captain." Similar structures have become active at deep ocean sites around the world. But that is not the worst of it. We need you to return to port immediately. Dr. Kate Phillips took the microphone from Sam. "Director Martinez, this is Dr. Phillips. What other changes are you seeing?" "Doctor, the ocean itself is changing. Coastal cities are reporting that the sea appears to be watching them. Ships that get too close to certain areas are experiencing complete system failures. And we are getting reports of geometric shapes moving beneath the water surface in coordinated patterns." Back on shore, Dr. Amanda Brooks worked frantically in her laboratory, surrounded by ancient artifacts that had suddenly become active. Stone tablets and metal objects that had sat quietly in museums for decades were now emitting the same signals that Captain Turner's crew had detected in the deep ocean. Amanda had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red and tired, but she could not stop working. Every few hours, she discovered new translations from the alien warnings that revealed more terrifying details about what humanity was facing. "The prison is failing," she announced to the emergency council through a video link. The screen showed government officials and military leaders gathered in the underground conference room in Colorado. Their faces were pale and frightened. General. Frank Cooper leaned forward in his chair. Dr. Brooks, what exactly do you mean by prison? Amanda held up a stone tablet covered in alien writing. According to the Krillian civilization records, the entity beneath our oceans was imprisoned by a coalition of advanced species millions of years ago. They built an elaborate containment system using technology that we still do not understand. What kind of containment system? Asked President Carter, who was attending the meeting through a secure video connection from the White House. The prison uses human consciousness as a key component, Amanda explained, her voice growing more urgent. Our brainwave patterns, our emotional responses, our way of thinking, all of these things generate a specific frequency that reinforces the containment field. Director Martinez stood up from his seat. Are you saying that human thoughts are what keep this thing locked up? Not just thoughts, Amanda replied. Human unity. When people work together, when they cooperate and care about each other, the frequency becomes stronger. But when humans fight and hate each other, the frequency weakens. Colonel Beth Ryan, who had been monitoring global seismic activity, spoke from her position near the back of the room. Dr. Brooks, we have been tracking earthquake patterns around the world. The seismic activity is following the same geometric patterns that we see in the ocean structures. Something enormous is moving beneath the Earth's crust. Dr. Kevin Stone, the marine biologist, added more disturbing information. We have lost contact with 3 deep-sea research stations in the past 24 hours. The last transmissions we received showed massive tentacles of living darkness reaching up from the ocean floor. Amanda consulted her notes before continuing. The alien records are very clear about what happens if the prison fails completely. The entity does not just destroy things, it erases them from reality. Entire star systems simply cease to exist. When it feeds, President Carter's image flickered on the main screen. Dr. Brooks, you mentioned earlier that there was some kind of failsafe. What exactly did the alien civilizations tell us about that? Amanda took a deep breath before answering. According to the texts, if the normal containment ever failed, there was one final option. But it requires something that no species had ever attempted before. What kind of option? General Cooper demanded. Conscious sacrifice by an entire species. Every human mind would need to be linked together in perfect harmony, using our collective life force to reinforce the prison one final time. The room became very quiet. The only sounds were the humming of air conditioning and the soft beeping of electronic equipment. Finally, President Carter spoke. Dr. Brooks, what would be the cost of such an action? Amanda's voice was barely above a whisper. According to the alien records, it would hold the entity in place for another 1,000,000 years. But the process would kill every human being on Earth. Meanwhile, back on the Neptune's Eye, Tony Rodriguez was reporting increasingly strange readings from their instruments. Captain, I am detecting massive pressure changes throughout the Pacific Basin. It is like something the size of a mountain is moving around down there. Captain Turner studied the sonar displays that showed the ocean floor far below them. Tony, how large would something have to be to create pressure changes that we can detect from the surface? Honestly, Captain, I do not want to think about it, but based on these readings, we are talking about something that could be hundreds of miles across. Dr. Phillips had been analyzing water samples that they had collected during their ascent from the deep ocean. Captain, the chemical composition of the seawater is changing rapidly. I am finding elements that should not exist in nature, and the concentration is increasing every hour. Amy continued to monitor radio transmissions from around the world. Captain, I am picking up emergency broadcasts from governments everywhere. Coastal cities are being evacuated because the ocean is behaving in ways that violate the laws of physics. What do you mean? Sam asked. Tidal waves that move in straight lines instead of following normal wave patterns. Water that flows uphill. And in some places, the ocean itself appears to be rising into the air in massive columns that reach toward the sky. Back in her laboratory, Amanda made a discovery that filled her with both hope and terror. She had finally managed to translate the most ancient part of the alien warnings, the section that described the original imprisonment of the entity. "Director Martinez," she said into her communication device, "I have found something important. The alien records describe how the prison was originally created." "What did you find, Doctor?" came the reply from the underground conference room. The entity was not always imprisoned beneath Earth's oceans. Originally, it existed in the space between galaxies, feeding on the fabric of reality itself. A coalition of the most advanced species in the galaxy worked together to trap it and bring it to Earth. "Why Earth specifically?" President Carter asked. "Because Earth was empty at the time. This was billions of years ago, long before life evolved on our planet. The alien species chose Earth because it was isolated and had the right geological features to serve as a prison." General Cooper interrupted. "Dr. Brooks, if this thing has been here for billions of years, how did humans evolve to become its guardians?" Amanda checked her translations one more time before answering. According to the records, human evolution was guided by artificial means. The alien coalition left behind technology that influenced the development of life on Earth. We were designed to become the perfect prison guards. Designed how? Director Martinez asked. "Our brain chemistry, our emotional responses, our capacity for both cooperation and conflict. All of these traits were enhanced to create the exact frequency pattern needed to maintain the containment field. We are not just guards. We are living components of the prison system." Colonel Ryan reported more troubling news. "The global seismic monitoring network is showing coordinated movement beneath all of the world's major ocean basins. Whatever is down there is not just waking up in one place. The entire system is becoming active." Dr. Stone added, "We are also detecting similar signals coming from beneath the ice sheets in Antarctica and Greenland. The prison system appears to extend far beyond just the ocean floors." Amanda realized the full scope of what they were facing. The entity is not just imprisoned beneath the Pacific Ocean. The entire planet is the prison. The oceans, the continents, even the atmosphere. Everything has been modified to serve as part of the containment system. President Carter asked the question that everyone was thinking. "Dr. Brooks, how much time do we have before this prison fails completely?" Amanda looked at her data one more time, hoping that she had made an error in her calculations. But the numbers were clear, and they were terrifying. Based on the rate of seismic activity and the increasing strength of the entity's signals, I estimate that we have less than 1 week before the containment field collapses entirely. The Emergency Council sat in stunned silence as they realized that humanity had only days to make the most important decision in the history. 5 days after Dr. Amanda Brooks announced that humanity had 1 week to save the universe, the world stood at the edge of an impossible decision. Every television, radio, and internet connection on Earth carried the same message. Every human being now knew the truth about their planet and their purpose as guardians of something that could destroy all of existence. In homes and offices around the world, people gathered to watch President Carter address the human race for what might be the final time. The president sat at her desk in the Oval Office, but her usual confidence was gone. Her hands shook slightly as she looked directly into the camera. "My fellow humans," President Carter began, "we have learned that our species was created for a purpose that none of us could have imagined. We are not the masters of Earth. We are its guardians, and we have been failing in that duty." In the underground conference room in Colorado, Director Martinez and his team watched the president's speech while monitoring data from around the world. The situation was getting worse by the hour. The geometric structures beneath the oceans were now visible from space, glowing with an eerie light that could be seen through miles of water. Citizens of every nation, the president continued, we face a choice that no species should ever have to make. We can attempt to fight this entity and watch as it destroys not only our world, but the entire universe. Or we can fulfill our purpose as guardians and ensure that future civilizations will have the chance to grow and thrive. Captain Sam Turner and his crew had returned to shore, but they continued to monitor the situation from their base in California. The ocean near their port had turned completely black, and strange lights moved beneath the surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Dr. Kate Phillips stood at the window of their research station, watching the transformed sea. Captain, I am reading massive electromagnetic pulses coming from underwater. Whatever is down there is trying to break free. Tony Rodriguez checked his instruments for the 100th time that day. The seismic activity is off the charts. It is like the entire planet is shaking itself apart. Amy Johnson had been monitoring communications from around the world. Captain, governments everywhere are reporting the same thing. The entity is testing the boundaries of its prison at multiple locations simultaneously. Back in her laboratory, Amanda worked with desperate urgency to understand the process that could save the universe. She had discovered detailed instructions in the alien records, but the procedure was more complex than anything humans had ever attempted. Dr. Brooks, came Director Martinez's voice through her communication system. How exactly would this collective sacrifice work? Amanda looked at the calculations spread across her desk. According to the alien texts, we would need to link every human consciousness using quantum entanglement principles. Every person on Earth would need to focus their mental energy on the on. Same goal at exactly the same time. Is such a thing even possible with our current technology? Asked Dr. Stone, who was attending the conversation through video link. Yes, but barely, Amanda replied. We would use the same harmonic frequency principles that maintain the prison, but instead of the gradual, unconscious process that has been working for thousands of years, we would create a massive, intentional burst of psychic energy. General Cooper's voice joined the conversation. Dr. Brooks, what are the chances that this plan would actually work? Amanda hesitated before answering. Based on the alien records, the probability of success is very high, but the cost is absolute. The process would drain the life force from every human being on the planet within minutes. President Carter's speech continued on televisions around the world. The choice before us is not just about our own survival. It is about the survival of every form of life that exists now or might exist in the future. The entity we guard has already destroyed dozens of advanced civilizations. If it escapes, the universe itself may come to an end. In a small town in Kansas, a family sat around their kitchen table, holding hands as they listened to the president's words. The father, a farmer named Bill Stevens, looked at his wife and two young children. Sarah, he said to his wife, if we do this thing, if we sacrifice ourselves, do you think it will really save everyone else? Sarah Stevens squeezed her husband's hand. Bill, I think we have to believe that it will. What kind of parents would we be if we did not try to protect the future for other children, even if we cannot protect our own? Similar conversations were happening in homes around the world. In Tokyo, an elderly man named Hiroshi sat with his granddaughter, explaining why they might need to give their lives to save the universe. In London, a teacher named Margaret gathered her students and told them that they might be heroes in the most important story ever told. The process that Amanda had discovered required precise timing and global coordination. Every human being would need to link their consciousness at exactly the same moment, creating a wave of psychic energy powerful enough to reinforce the prison for another 1,000,000 years. The procedure must begin when the entity makes its strongest attempt to break free, Amanda explained to the Global Council. According to the alien records, that will happen when the geometric structures beneath the oceans reach maximum activity. Colonel Ryan monitored the seismic data carefully. Dr. Brooks, the underwater structures are approaching peak energy output. I estimate we have less than 6 hours before the entity makes its escape attempt. Around the world, governments work together in a way they had never managed before. Military satellites were repurposed to create a global communication network. Radio and television stations prepared to broadcast the synchronization signal to every human on Earth. Even people in the most remote locations were contacted and told what they needed to do. Dr. Stone coordinated with marine research stations around the globe. We are seeing the same pattern everywhere. Massive tentacles of living darkness are reaching up from the ocean floor, testing the barriers that have held the entity for so long. In space, astronauts aboard the International Space Station watched in horror as the Earth's oceans began to glow with an unnatural light. Commander Lisa Parker radioed to Earth. Ground control, we can see the geometric patterns from up here. They are enormous, covering thousands of square miles of ocean surface. As the final hour approached, Amanda made the last preparations for humanity's ultimate sacrifice. The quantum entanglement devices had been activated at key locations around the world. Every television, radio, and internet connection was ready to carry the synchronization signal that would link 8 billion human minds in a single moment. Of purpose. People of Earth, President Carter said in her final broadcast, in 30 minutes, we will begin the process that will save the universe. When you hear the signal, focus your thoughts on protecting the future. Think about love, about hope, about all the good things that life can become. Think about the children who will be born on distant worlds millions of years from now, and know that your sacrifice will give them the chance to live. Captain Turner and his crew stood together on the deck of the Neptune's Eye, watching the ocean that had become their enemy. It has been an honor serving with all of you, Sam said to his team. Kate smiled sadly. Captain, do you think anyone will remember what we did here? I hope not, Sam replied. I hope the future will be so bright and beautiful that they never need to know about the darkness we kept locked away. Around the world, 8 billion human beings prepared to give their lives for people they would never meet, on worlds they would never see. In hospitals, doctors held the hands of their patients. In schools, teachers embraced their students. In homes, families gathered together for the last time. The synchronization signal began to broadcast. Every human mind on Earth felt the connection, forming, linking them in a way that had never happened before. The feeling was indescribable. 8 billion consciousnesses becoming one, united in a single purpose. In the depths of the ocean, the entity sensed what was happening and made its final desperate attempt to break free. Tentacles of pure darkness reached toward the surface, seeking to escape before the prison could be reinforced, but humanity was ready. 8 billion minds focused their combined will on a single goal, protecting the future. The psychic energy they generated was more powerful than any force in the universe. The harmonic frequency that humans had been unconsciously maintaining for thousands of years became a conscious, deliberate choice. The geometric structures beneath the oceans blazed with renewed power. The entity, sensing its defeat, sent out one final message through the psychic link. It was not words, but pure emotion. Acknowledgement of humanity's courage, recognition of their sacrifice, and perhaps something that might have been respect for mature creature older than stars. As the last human consciousness faded into peaceful darkness, the Earth's oceans returned to their natural blue color. The planet became quiet, but it was not empty. The prison held firm, reinforced by the willing sacrifice of an entire species. in the quantum foam of space and time itself, the essence of humanity lived on. They had become eternal guardians, ensuring that the light of consciousness could shine throughout the universe while the darkness remained forever chained beneath the waves. Millions of years later, on distant worlds around other stars,